here today. We are talking about moving forward to build the city of the future, a city where our children want to stay and other people's children want to come, because they are able to live in a community where they can live, work, shop, play, and do so in a community that affords them all of those things within walking distance, and if it's not within walking distance, where they can use a streetcar and not have to get in an automobile. It is good for economic development. It is going to create jobs. It's going to attract businesses, increase property values, and also bring new residents to Cincinnati. A person who has been at the forefront of leading the charge to build the streetcar in Kansas City, Missouri, is Mayor Sly James. He has a long and distinguished career outside of politics, and in fact ran for the first time ever for political office in 2011 and won. And since that time has really done many things in Kansas City focused upon efficiency, enforcement, education, and employment. But among the many initiatives that he has prioritized has been to make sure Kansas City completes its streetcar. And so with that, would you please welcome the Mayor of Kansas City, Sly James.
I am really happy and honored to be here. I'm extremely happy, and I took a picture and I did an Instagram, tweeted it back home so that all the people who are here like you are, who want streetcar, who understand the value of having rails in the street, who know what it means to a city's prosperity and future growth to do what you're doing right now, can see what it looks like. Because there is nothing like reality that brings home all of the issues. Streetcars are something that we had a long time ago. In 1957, I believe, was the last time that a streetcar ran on the streets of Kansas City. And in that time before that, we had the second most streetcar miles of any city in the country behind San Francisco. And we booted it so that we could have buses and cars. And now we're coming back to see the reality. It's just like what we're doing with houses. You go into a house that's old and somebody has painted all the wood over it, you strip the paint off and you get back down to the wood because the craftsmanship and the things from that era are priceless. They worked then. There was a reason they did them then. There's a reason they did streetcar then. There's a reason they did streetcars now. Look at what happened when they took the streetcars away. The city's just turned into sprawl. And what's that mean for a city? That means you got more miles of more infrastructure you have to pay for with less money. The ideal situation is density, where things are there together, where people can work together and live in the same area, that they play and that they shop and that they buy things, walk their dogs without owning a car. If you look at the statistics, 16-year-old driver's licenses are down. Driving by teenagers is down. They know one thing, that they don't want the car bill when they come out of college because they got all these other bills to pay under the current system. So they vote, do you want an internet connection or a car? And they vote for the internet connection. If they want a car, they can go rent a zip car for an hour and go to the grocery or whatever. If they want to drive across the state or across country, you go to rent a car place, you rent a car, you drive, and you bring it back and you don't have to worry about it. We are not building the city for anybody here. We're building the city for your kids and your grandkids. You want them to come back. You want them to build on what you've already done. You're building leadership now. You want them to come back. If you want them back, you've got to listen to what they're saying. And what they're saying is, we want intermodal transportation. We want streetcars. We want bike paths. We want trails. We want cars and want buses, all of those things, but we want more than what we've got. This is absolutely crucial to that. Last and not least, the development that takes place around streetcars and rail is already well documented in Seattle and in Portland and in Dallas and in Denver and in Minneapolis and here and in Kansas City. There's an article that appeared in the paper in Kansas City last week, I believe, of a builder from Boulder, Colorado, who said that they were coming to build 45 to 50 luxury apartments in Kansas City on the streetcar line because of the streetcar line, and they were looking at what they considered to be major non-coastal cities. Guess who they named? Kansas City and Cincinnati. And the reason they named it, there you go. And the reason that they named those cities is because of the dedication and the intent that we have to build transportation, particularly rail transportation. This is what we need to do, not just in Kansas City, but in Cincinnati and other cities as well. When you look at where your streetcar lines were in this city, look at the buildings that were there. That should tell you that those people at that time knew to build their buildings on rails where they could get people to and from jobs. Finally, despite the fact that there are some cave people who believe that science does not exist, and that we can continue to dump tons and tons of carbon into the air and have absolutely no effect, but then go out and fight vigorously for no smoking in a bar, we have to start doing things differently or we're going to kill ourselves or our kids, really. If we can get people from place A to place B without polluting as much as we do now, why wouldn't we want to do that? If we can get people on one side of town to the interior of town on rail, why wouldn't we want to connect that up? If we have little pearls of interest and arts and business and sports that aren't connected, why wouldn't we use streetcar to connect them? All of these things are logical. All of these things need to be done. Nothing is free, but some things are absolutely vital investments. Cincinnati and Kansas City are similarly situated in this respect. About 20 years ago, the federal government started having transportation parties. The door prizes were big bags of money. Parties started at 7. Some cities got there at 7. Some cities got there at 8. Kansas City and Cincinnati showed up at 11 o'clock and wondered why there was only one beer left. I think that we share an old common trait, and that is we've never missed an opportunity to miss an opportunity. That's got to change. It's got to change. And the good news is you've got leaders standing right here in front of you who are dedicated to making that change, despite all the negativity, despite all the naysayers, despite all the nonsense, and stand firm to do what we know needs to be done and what we've seen done in other major cities across this country. It works. $6 billion of investment in Portland within a block of the streetcar line. Half of the new investment in the last 10 years in Seattle, adjacent to the streetcar line. We've got buildings and 1,500 new residential units coming out of the ground and will be done by 2015 in Kansas City because of the streetcar line. Facts don't lie, and liars seldom have facts. So, I want to thank you. Stand strong, okay? Stand up. Understand this. If you have any doubt about how vital it is to keeping your city young and vigorous and bringing in the people with the new technological talent, go talk to them. Ask them what they want in their cities. And let that be your guide. And I assure you, they'll say this is something that they not only want, but that they demand. That's why all these people here are young. Thank you very much. Really nice. I don't get that at home. As a matter of fact, I mostly get it at home when I'm leaving. My daughter is at home from college. She's clapping to see me go. I'll try to answer any questions if you have any.
What kind of opposition have you gotten at home? Is it as intense as we've seen here?
Well, you know, I don't know enough about your intensity, but I can tell you, yes, it's been intense. You know, the bottom line is that people who are opposed to things are going to be vociferously opposed in this day and age. The problem is for them that there are more people who are in favor of doing something right now in the city than there are who are wanting to do nothing. There are too many people who would have us do what we did 10 years ago and then wonder why things aren't getting better. Those of us who actually have the responsibility of trying to get things done understand that you have to make tough decisions, you have to stick with it, and you have to bring your facts. If I couldn't say about streetcar on a factual basis what it would do, I need to shut up. And so does everybody. The good news is that there are so many facts, there's so many examples, there's so much data, so much information that says this makes sense that you almost have to be crazy to deny it.
Has your streetcar project had any budget issues? Have there been cost overruns?
No.
Are you on budget?
We are on budget, and what happened when we get to a budgetary issue that maybe we change the project in order to fit the budget. We don't just run over the budget. We've only had to make a couple of tweaks, but when we got the largest Tiger grant of any city in the country a few weeks back, and the only one for streetcar a few weeks back, we were able to use some of that Tiger grant money to restore the cuts that we made, and we still have a surplus. Part of our budget is building in a $17.5 million surplus for operating and maintenance costs. So we've got a little bit of wiggle room, and so far we're on budget.
Can you outline how your project is
only
funded?
a little bit off time.
Can you outline, generally speaking, how your project is funded?
We're funded through a transportation district, development district tax. We formed a transportation development district that outlines the general area of where the streetcar is going to run. It looks a little like Gumby. You can look it up, you can find it on Google or whatever. And in that district, the property taxes are assessed and raised, and there's a 1-cent sales tax. The people who are able to vote were the ones who lived in the district. They voted overwhelmingly for it, although the numbers were small. And the reason for that is that the people who own the property didn't bother to live where they owned the property. So the young people that live downtown helped vote that in, along with some seniors. And it's not just about that, but look at what happened. Seniors are moving downtown. They don't want to drive, and frankly, there's a lot of them you don't want driving. But if they have a streetcar and they can get to the grocery store, the doctor, their friends, go out and have fun, go to the opera, go to ballet, symphony, that's what they're looking for. So now they're moving, empty nesters moving into downtown, occupying high-rise apartments and loving every minute of it, and they're strong supporters of the streetcar. They can get rid of their cars. Anyone else?
Thank you all very much. Thank you.